Hello. Welcome to another Logic tutorial with me, Ed the Shed. My name is Ed, but I am not a shed. In this video I am going to be talking about a very cool plugin. That's right, it's the Match EQ. This type of EQ works a bit differently to the other ones in Logic. What it does is it copies the frequency spectrum of another audio sample of your choice, and then applies that same frequency spectrum onto the audio that is on your track. Why the hell would I want to do that? You might ask. Well, one use for this could be to use it on your final mix, when you have finished your bad boy tune. Let's imagine you have just finished your new bad boy tune, but you have been listening to your favorite song a lot recently, you know, that new one by Lady Gaga. You like your tune, but you want it to sound more like Lady Gaga's, EQ-wise. Well, with the Match EQ, you can copy the frequency spectrum of Lady Gaga's tune, and apply it to your own. So, to demonstrate this, I have got together a couple of tunes of my own. Sadly, they aren't Lady Gaga tunes. I'm into them big bad, drum and bass beats, down with them kids. Okay, I have made a folder on my desktop. In this folder is 2 tracks. One of them is my fully finished track bounced down with no mastering on the final mix. The second track is a fully mastered and released track by a popular drum and bass artist, Logistics. Let's load my track up into Logic. As my 2 tracks are on my desktop, I will click on the little house icon which is over here in the Browser tab. Then, I will click on the desktop folder. My 2 tracks are in this folder here. So let's drag my track onto a track in Logic. Now, I will open the Match EQ from the Inserts panel. Instead of explaining all of the parameters on this plugin, in this tutorial, I will just show you how it can be used. If you want to know more about the parameters, then look out for part 2, because I will do a separate tutorial where I go through the parameters in a bit more detail. Right, let's continue. We have our Match EQ loaded onto our track with our tune on it. Let's just have a very quick listen to the track we have here. Okay, so I like my tune, but I want it to sound more like another drum and bass tune that has already been mastered and released. Let's just have a quick listen to that tune now. I chose this tune particularly because it contains a lot more presence in the high end of the frequency spectrum in comparison to my own track. So, hopefully the effects of the Match EQ will be obvious enough to your ears. Okay, so now we have our EQ open and our track loaded up in Logic. We need to tell the Match EQ what it should copy, and we want our EQ to copy the frequency spectrum of the tune by Logistics. So, to do this, we simply drag the file from the browser window onto the Template Learn button. As you can see, it starts to analyze the data from the tune to mathematically create an average frequency spectrum of it. So the red frequency spectrum you can see now is that of the Logistics tune. So now, I want to tell the plugin to copy this frequency spectrum onto my own track. But to do this I first need to analyze the frequency spectrum of my own track. I can do this by clicking on the next box along which is labeled Current. Before I do this, however, I need to set my loop so that the plugin knows how much audio to analyze. So set the looper to loop across the whole track like this. Now we can click on our Learn button, but remember the one that's labeled Current. Let's do that now. Now normally, you should really let the plugin analyze the majority of the song. I couldn't be bothered to do this because it is just an example. Okay, so we have now analyzed the frequency spectrum of both my track and the Logistics track. If I click on the next box along, then the plugin will basically blend the two frequency spectrums that we analyzed together, and it will do this by applying a filtered curve across the whole spectrum. So let's click on the next box now and match the audio up. So you can see that a wobbly yellow line appears across the screen. This yellow line now indicates the new EQ curve that you have, and this is now being applied to my track in Logic. Let's have a listen to my track as it sounds now. So if I bypass it now and listen to it with and without the match EQ, you should hear a difference. Let's give that a go now. There is definitely a much nicer tonal balance when it is on, in my opinion. Let's look at the Apply slider now. This slider lets you choose how much of the other frequency spectrum you want to apply to your own track. If you go to values above 100%, then you will boost the effect, and if you go to values below, then you will reduce the effect. Simple. So just to very quickly recap on how we did all this. Step 1. Load your own track into Logic. Step 2. Load up a match EQ on your track. Step 3. Drag and drop the other tune that you want to copy onto the template Learn button. Step 4. Set the looper to loop all the way through your track. Step 5. Click on the second box to analyze your own track. Step 6. Click on the third box along to match up the frequency content, and then finally, season to taste with the apply slider. Voila! Bon appetit! Okay, that is pretty much it for this tutorial. Look out for part 2 if you want to know more about this plugin, because there are other uses for it and I didn't have much time to do the boring bit and go through all of the parameters in much detail. Thanks for watching, see you next time.